Recording in progress.
Pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take the roll.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Present.
Councilmember Crossman.
Here.
Councilmember Smith. Here. Councilmember Hess. Here. Councilmember Palmer.
Here.
Councilmember Kaminsky. Here. Mayor DePinto.
Here. All right, could we get an agenda approval?
Move to approve the agenda.
Seconded by Councilmember Hess. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to special presentations, none scheduled. Moving on to public comment. There's none in person. Is there anyone online?
There are no hands raised online.
All right, moving on to new business. There's none scheduled. Moving on to old business, there's confirmation of Mayor DePinto's appointments to the boards and commissions. I'll start us off just kind of by briefly telling council what I kind of look for in appointments. And when I'm looking at the applications, I tend to look at the boards and the commissions, the makeup of them, who's on it currently, as well as who's applying. Besides the basic qualifications for residency, some may live inside the city limits, some are required to just be in the urban growth, and some are the Yelm area. But all of those, I'm considering kind of the diversity and different perspectives on the board. There's some people on here that are mothers, fathers, educators. There's, business owners, young professionals. It's a whole gamut of different people. And I've taken a lot of different considerations when I'm choosing these folks to be on these committees. With that said, happy to entertain motion or questions, comments. Councilmember Crossman.
So I've said this a few times, nothing new, that it's hard for me to confirm something, a person that I have no knowledge of. And looking at, since we had this week to think about it and what was brought up at last council meeting, I've, looked at, the Constitution and how the federal level does it, how the state level does it. It's not how we do it. They do it differently. And I think we should follow suit. There's some of these committees that I don't think we should have to approve as a council, and maybe there's some that we should. So I think we should bring this to a study session and find out what committees, of those commissions that we need to approve as a council, and which ones the mayor can just assign and be good with. Because, I have my opinions, but that's just my opinion. We want the whole council, or we can't, this is not the place for the discussion of that. The study session would be, since we don't have a general government committee to do that with, right? We have a study session. So I would make a motion and I move that we, sorry, I lost my words. I move that we table this vote for tonight. We have a study session and discuss and come up with a new way of how we make these appointments and which ones should be voted in by council and which ones should just be mayor only appointment and confirmation.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Wood. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Hess?
I agree we need to have it on a study session, but I don't think we need to postpone what's going on right now until then, because that'll be a study session we'll have. Then we have to revise then we'd have to have a meeting for action to vote on the new plan. And then the next meeting we can move to a point, and we're looking at late January, early February. And some of these boards are meeting in beginning of January. And I don't want to say we just conduct business the way we always have, because I remember earlier this year, that was brought up before, that we do this, we look at it. And I thought we came to an understanding, but I think we should not do the vote of tabling this, but we can do the vote of, hey, put it on a study session, which I don't think that's necessary, but we need to take care of this business before the end of the year, because some of these boards are going to be meeting come January, and we need to make sure they are filled out and ready to conduct business.
Questions, comments? Councilmember Wood.
As I agree that it is important that we get these boards filled out. I'm not convinced it's more important than the boards that we are appointed to, that we're represented in the month of the month of December. I mean, I get that, but I think that it wouldn't be doing our due diligence. Once again, if you're asking us to vote on something, and I'm seeing these applications, there's a lot of redacted information.
So the personal information, the phone numbers and the addresses, that's the only thing that's redacted.
At this point, I'm having trouble even letting me have any information. So
You've had this information, Councilmember.
I understand. I
If you
understand.
had any questions on any of this, I would have been happy to get you that information. But this is the first time I've heard of it from yourself.
I understand. Unfortunately, the electronic equipment that I've been provided doesn't seem to really want to connect up with the internet or give me any information. So, I apologize for not reaching out to you and asking you about it. But with that being said, I think that we need more time to kind of look through and see what this is about.
So I'll go ahead and Councilor Smith, Councilor Richardson, and then we'll have staff report on what's going on.
Okay. I did look at them. I was a little bit late. I started looking at them, I believe, Saturday night or Sunday. I did send 2 emails. Again, it's not that I don't think any of these people that your selections are bad and it's not that. It's the fact, like we talked about, that if we're voting on this, I think we need to do our due diligence. And a couple of things that I noticed was, one stated she included a resume. I did send an email. I understand from Kathy that there wasn't an opportunity for someone to send an email or a resume with her application, and she didn't send it separately. I understand that, but it was like, it wasn't even, I mean, was that even noted? Did you see that? Did you take that into consideration, that there was more information? I don't know. I completely understand about the redacted information. However, at the council meeting, you did mention that we could reach out to these people and have an opportunity. And there's a couple of these that I feel I would like to talk to a couple of the people if I'm going to be making an informed decision. I understand it's redacted and I understand why, but I'm not going to go stalk them. I mean, some of these people I know, some I don't. My other question was, there was one, if I read through correctly, there was one person that was eligible for the salary commission and you didn't even put that person on there. Only one. So I question that, and that person that did apply for the salary, you did put on 2 other boards. So I guess I feel like maybe we should spread the wealth more too. There's a lot of people that applied that may be eligible to fill these. So why stack them with the same people? Those are my thoughts.
Councilor Richardson?
No, I was just thinking, with the motion that, Councilmember Crossman had provided there, that's probably going to require us to go back to an overhaul of some policies and procedures, correct? Like if we go back and, because this is kind of in how things were done in the past, this is what would take place.
This not only is how that's done in the past, but this is how, and I understand they don't do it federally like this, but they do this standard across the board in Washington State. This is the process they all follow. I kind of want Kathy to, as our city clerk, she goes to these trainings. This is kind of her role as a city clerk to know how they run these, how they do them in other cities. If that's all right, Councilmember Richardson, if that would help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kathy, could you kind of just explain the process that other cities use, or if this is?
I can a little bit. What I can tell you is Resolution 635 was approved. We've made several amendments to the resolution since it was originally approved in 2020 with this format. And some of the committees were, even prior to that, were mayor appoints and council confirms. At that time, they were all updated to be consistent in the same format of the process where mayor appoints, council approves. So if council chooses to change the process, that's what we would need to do, is we would make amendments to Appendix 13 of the Mayor Council Member Handbook. And so we would bring a new resolution with a new process if those are going to change. So that's what we would have to do to change it. there are a lot of cities that do have mayor appointments and council confirms on their committees. They usually do them. They usually do put the applications in the council packets. I reached out to a group of people and the majority of them said that they do that.
You say people who,
City clerks, other city clerks, and they will redact the information, the same as the information that was redacted because that portion of the application is not a public record. And then the only other information I really have on this process is what was in the packet both times on the agenda summary as far as, the advertisement of the open positions and the time frame that we collected the applications. I'm happy to answer more questions about that if anyone has any.
Councilor Richardson?
I'm just thinking that too, because I know there's certain different governments, how cities run. And I know, does this have anything to do with Yelm being a strong mayor system? Okay, so it's nothing to do with that. It's just,
No.
okay.
I think a lot of cities are strong mayor. I know the bigger ones are different,
Right.
but a lot of them are.
I try not to get involved with the policy that you all make, but I do I have sort of an issue with not bringing this up at the last meeting. The last meeting, there was concerns about not having enough information provided. I understand that. We got you the information of all the applicants requested. From what I'm hearing, it's not necessarily the applicants that you didn't have the information you wanted. You want to just change the process. Rather than waste staff time coming in tonight and going through this process, I think at that time, you should have at least mentioned that that was a concern rather than just saying at the last minute, we didn't have couldn't open my laptop because we didn't have the information, or the laptop didn't work, that there wasn't information because it's redacted. We could have easily, if you wanted that information, if you really did want to reach out to them, I'm happy to have gotten you that information.
Emailed.
Did we get,
I did ask that. So
you asked for the numbers?
I said the information is redacted. I said, and I actually went back and watched the meeting or the portion of the meeting where you did say if we wanted to reach out to these people, because there are a couple of the boards or whatever they are, that I thought I would like to talk to a couple of people because I don't know all these people. There's a couple people that I know who they are.
Sure.
I did ask for that. So I'm just saying.
The job of the council isn't to interview and again, I may have made a mistake by saying that you should have looked at it.
Looked.
I may have misspoke when I said that. I apologize for that.
Okay.
But the job of the council is to confirm the applicants, the appointments, and not to judge all the applicants. It's the job of the council, at least for the way that we do things, the way we have done things, the way the council's passed legislation here, that's the policy that we follow. And we followed that to the book. And when we didn't have that information, happy to have done a special meeting. So we have that information, but I would ask council to judge the merits of these people individually, the appointments that are on here, not necessarily for the other people that may have been on here, but the appointments that I selected. Councilmember Hess, and then Crossman.
And just going back to the motion that's on the table right now. The way that I see if we decide to follow through with that particular motion, we are going to have a policy change. And yes, I would love to have the discussion because I do believe there are certain boards and commissions that, and as I said, I thought earlier this year, we covered it of you appoint, and those are your boards, those are your, that we don't necessarily need to approve. But then there's other ones that we do need to approve, that we should approve. Because, there are some that they affect the policies and codes and various other things that we're going to put into place, i.e. the planning commission. We should have a say in that one because that's going to be who's advising us to approve something and all. The Arts Commission, not so much. They're looking at, how they're going to spend money within the community, and making recommendations to us. But my understanding of the Art Commission is we already fund it and they just decide how to spend it. And so to me, there's a difference between the two. And so, when we have this discussion later, the planning commission, I'd like to be part of, saying, hey, we confirm and, approve of what you've chosen. The Arts Commission, you choose who you want to have on it. And you just notify us who you put on it. So if we have an issue with somebody, we can bring it up and then have that discussion at that time. But otherwise, as I say, the motion that's on the table right now, we're looking at at least 2 meetings at a minimum to go through. And, one of them could be a very long meeting, just trying to figure out, how everything affects and everything. And so it'll be 3 meetings before we even get boards put together. And then it comes up, somebody who, if we all of a sudden say, nope, these are changes that have been done and such, there could be consequences of who's on the boards already of how they were chosen before. No, it's just, right now, it's, as you put it, a wrench has been thrown in at the last minute, and it's the motion on the table is trying to change procedure, not looking at who's on there and saying yay or nay of that at this moment.
Councilmember Crossman?
And I'll make it clear, it's not against you and your appointments, and that's looking at all the appointees and, all those who applied, because it's not our purview to look at all the applicants and say, oh, I like this person, because each one of us will vote somebody different, in this position or that. That's your job, Mr. Mayor, to say, hey, this is my appointee, yay or nay. And I've said this before, it's the process that I'm not comfortable with, the way it's been done. And since these are advisory boards and commissions, waiting a few more meetings, another month or so, is not a big deal. It's not going to really affect a whole lot of things. The planning commission still has a quorum. If they have a meeting coming up, they can still conduct business,
Been attendance issues where not everyone attends these meetings. If these two aren't appointed, there could be possible, but it's not just an advisory committee, the planning commission. It's a commission that does advise the council, but they have, it holds the weight of law on some of their authority.
Right. But they still have a quorum. They can still meet and still vote on things and conduct their business. So it's not like it's detrimental, because we've had 2 council members minus from here before and still get business done. Not having, elected officials in place. So having us another meeting to wait and then discussing, not just my ideas of how things should be done, but, the whole council of how I think it should be done. A study session is the appropriate venue for that, since we like I said, we don't have a general government committee anymore to say what's the appropriate way to go forward. The study session would be, and then the following council meeting to vote those policy changes. Like Councilmember Hess said, it will be a policy change, and that's what it will be, of however we decide to make that.
Can I ask what changed from this week from last week?
I've said this for appointments from a while back, several appointments ago. I've mentioned that I don't like the way that it's done. So this is not new for me. This is new for other people coming in, and I'm sure you recognize that, because I've brought this up before. I'm like, I'm not comfortable. And so the reason I made this motion tonight was, on last meeting, was because, I have time to think about it, like, oh, more people are starting to see that this is not, I'm not comfortable with this method of just saying, yes, I have a name and that's it. I'm supposed to approve this person with just a name and not even a face. Not even any information whatsoever, just a name and your words saying, so that's why I said either it's just you do it, Mr. Mayor, completely, or we have a little more input, a little more information given to us to approve that. So which will require a policy change is what I'm saying. And that's why I moved to, that's why it's done this time, is because, one, it's done before, but like a study session, we said we get the consensus, like, hey, everybody's on board with this. And now it seems like everybody's like, oh, yeah, I'm not comfortable with the way this is done. Let's change it up a little bit.
Councilman Richardson and Smith.
Yeah, I think there's some, I'm hearing some good checks and balances here. I don't think we're trying to throw a wrench in the process. What I think is we're trying to do is have due process. And there are some times when I'm listening to all the rest of the council, and I feel like there's a lot of sense being spoken. We're not trying to be contrary for contrary's sake. I think what we're really trying to do is have accountability. And I think a lot of the separation between trust and city government is transparency. And I think this would be another level of transparency to kind of say, this is how we do things. Here's the process. Here's the policy. That way they, as they elect council members that they feel that we do have some influence and pull, rather than not just the mayor deciding to do whatever he wants. And I'm not trying to say anything. What I'm saying is, I think it's just another level of checks and balances, accountability, transparency. I think this is a thing that could go very well. I don't see it as a negative thing, but I do understand that, understand we have city here, staff working on a day that probably wouldn't be normally, but that's okay. We do that because we care about our community. We want to see things follow through correctly and have government that is established well. So I think at the bottom line, that's what we're trying to look for. It's not against anybody's character. It's not against anything rather than due process in government. And we want transparency and accountability with checks and balances.
Councilmember Smith?
I'm one of those people that when I look at something, if it doesn't make sense, I have to make it make sense. So when I first saw the email, I'm fine with all your appointments. It's not even that. What it is I looked at the chart that was emailed out and I saw, okay, there were 15 applications. There's 7 names on here. 1 name is on here twice and 1 is completely blank yet somebody applied for it. And the person that applied for it is on 2 other ones. So that's when I started really reading everything because I thought, okay, it just doesn't, it didn't jive right with me. So that's why I kind of dug further.
Well, I'm not saying it's exact this situation, but when you're interviewing people, like let's say for a position for the city,
Mhm.
if there's just one person that applies for it, do you automatically give that person that job?
No, absolutely no.
Any other questions, concerns? Councilmember Kaminsky?
I had a question. Personally, I'm a little blindsided, but that's my own fault. When I didn't even realize we had a meeting today. And then when I thought it was about our own appointments, which I already had the list. So that's why I was confused. So that's on me. But when I look, the homelessness task force, isn't that supposed to be head by one of us?
There is.
And
It is.
Councilmember Hess was appointed.
oh, you're on that.
I'm on there.
Then I'm not.
Excuse me, Councilmember Palmer was appointed that. Councilmember,
He was regional housing.
he is also on the homelessness task or the homelessness committee. You're asking why
That's on here, whoever it is. Ashley.
the former Councilmember Brooks was on the committee.
Right.
She, being that she was not on the council, she had to resign that position. There was another resignation shortly after that, for that committee.
That's a member of the
Yeah.
public.
I don't remember the
Susan.
name, but yeah, one person.
Susan Mukherjee, excuse me. With that, I appointed Ashley onto that position.
As a member of the public to represent.
Well, as a member of the nonprofit, because it has to have a nonprofit. I believe that was the specific.
Okay, and then here, Police Advisory and Parks Committee, but I don't see, oh, here's Parks. Okay, all right, never mind. I'm all messed up.
Councilmember Palmer Wood, do you have any comments on this?
Well, everybody makes a really good point, especially being brand new coming into this and not having a whole, still trying to grasp the process on top of it, being thrown some name. And I've looked at the applications and again, I think he made some good choices there. But I do think we need to delve into the policy more because I don't like stamping my name on things when I'm not actually part of the process. So I think that is something that we need to change quick moving forward.
Okay, Councilor Wood, you seconded. You didn't want to talk about it?
Said what I needed to say.
It's been motion.
Sorry, so you just want us to agree with the people that you've chosen for these appointments? That's what we're voting
Right
on?
now, there's a
No,
motion on the
no.
table of tabling tonight's discussion and having a study session on changing the policy of how it's done. And after the policy's been changed and approved, then we look at the appointment, then we have the appointments
Right.
brought forward.
But other than that, what you're asking for tonight, regardless of that, is just for us to approve these.
It was on the agenda to confirm the appointments.
Confirm the
Correct, as
appointments.
we've done for the last 20 years or so at least. Councilor Wood.
If we did decide to go that route and taking it to the study session, which would technically be our next meeting, if I believe we the meeting for the end of the month here is canceled, correct? The council meeting.
There's no more meetings.
So our next meeting would be the study session, which we would talk about that. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a huge discussion. I think that what I'm hearing here is that we'd all like you to make the decision and under the circumstances and I don't believe that we feel that we need to approve your appointments because they are in fact your appointments. And I think that would be is the change of the policy. And I think we could do that in a study session pretty quickly and vote on it in the next meeting, as well as, move forward on this in that same first meeting of, after the study session.
Well, I mean, if council is wanting to, if that's the only change they want, if they specifically, and I don't know if Councilmember Wood speaks for everybody, but if that's what council wants to go ahead and give me the authority to make those appointments, we can make a motion right after this.
Well, I think there's more to that too. It's just the certain advisory boards that we think we should have more an influence in or say, or it's not just giving you complete appointment power. So what we got to kind of rethink things and go through and figure out which ones we say, okay, that's the mayor, you can do whatever you want there. But on these things, we would hope that you would come and check in with us and say, we're looking for a second opinion on the people that have been selected by the community of the city of Yelm. What would you think we should do with this? So that's what we're saying. So we're not just, so there's more to it than just what he said.
You're asking more for the,
In the study session.
like a vote though, so it wouldn't be a confirmation, it'd be a council decision, and then it would just be a council decision.
Sounds like we're gonna need some of that for some of the committees that might be a conflict of interest. I don't know. Still learning here.
Are you talking about a conversation about it? In a study session?
Yeah, conversation to really work out these thoughts that we're having, the decisions we're trying to make, and just kind of clean things up. So it doesn't look like the council's just putting the stamp of approval on the mayor's decision,
That's what it is.
Right.
It is just a stamp of approval by confirming.
And that's what we feel not okay about is, well, we didn't really know who that is or who they were. And yet we're supposed to sit here and be like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever you want to do. And so I think that's the dilemma, is we would hope to have more insight on that.
Okay.
Easier to prove.
Councilmember Hess.
To add to what Councilmember Richardson was saying, as I pointed out before, there are certain boards that they have an involvement of not just advising you, but also advising us on changes in policies, changes in code, whatever it might be. And just like how the process of picking police chief and certain other positions of, you have some council members that sit with you, go through the interview process, go through the things to represent the council to a certain extent. That is when we have this discussion, those are things that I want to bring up and all. So that's going to be, it's not going to be just a quick little, we're just going to make everything that, just notify us. We don't confirm or anything anymore, but we need to go through and take a look at what ones actually affect what's going on, vice those that new mayor comes in, says, here's my art commission, this is what I want to do, how we're going to beautify and various things like that with somebody on the commission from the city council that's helping out with that as well. There's a lot that's going to be done. So I don't see it as a quick one. Plus, we already have something on the January study session, and we're just going to pack it in with one more thing. As I say, we can discuss this. I thought we took care of this earlier this year with the concern that Councilmember Crossman had of, you're asking me to confirm, I don't know anything about, never saw or anything else like that. And so I thought we took care of that. I guess we didn't. It just got, again, pushed, but never brought up under old business or anything else like that. Just kind of got pushed to the side. It was no longer the priority or the shiny object in front of us at that moment. And now it's come back. So as I say, we came here to do one thing only, to either approve or disapprove this. We have another motion that's on the table at this moment that we need to decide. If we go and approve the motion that Councilmember Crossman had made, which the gist of it is postpone until study session discussion, change in policies, The next meeting, we vote on those changes to approve them. It'll be 3 meetings before anything gets done. Or if some of those changes occur where we are part of the interview process, you change the whole makeup of your appointments, and it could take longer. And so that's why the motion on the table, I disagree with it. We can, not to do it, pushing it back, I agree we need to change the policy and have that change occur sometime soon. But at this moment, we need to get through that one motion first, which will affect the next motion that we actually are here to discuss.
Just real quick, logistically, it won't be this January study session that we hear this. They are scheduled already. What's on it, and Councilmember Hess is right, it's fairly busy. But besides that, we don't have a management meeting next week because it's the day after Christmas. There's a lot of folks taking that time off. That's when we usually prepare those agendas and discuss that as a management team. The earliest we would have would be the first Tuesday as a management team, discuss it, prepare for the meeting and get the materials required and background for you. The earliest I think we could do that is February study session. We could move quickly after that, next week or the following week for take action. We'd be able to do it one of the 2 meetings in February. And then I would, depending on how council redid things, I would probably take at least a week or 2 to make appointments that council has approved or position wise that the council wants me to make those decisions on. And then if council wants to make decisions on committees, they'd have to deliberate and all that. So we're talking probably end of March, I'd say, to actually have these appointments filled from my perspective, logistics. Councilmember Kaminsky.
So Kathy, just to repeat what you said, we have always had the policy of doing it by just approving an appointment. And that's the way other cities do it.
Yes, this process has been in place since 2020 for Yelm. I don't know what it was prior to 2020, but in 2020, the resolution was approved to make that mayor made the appointments and council confirmed them.
So council does have to confirm them, like the mayor just can't. Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Crossman.
I feel like we lost a little decorum tonight for official council meetings, so it sounded like a study session. So I'm going to call the vote.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Wood.
Aye.
Councilor Richardson.
Yes.
Councilor Crossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Hess.
No.
Councilmember Palmer.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
No.
Motion carries. We will table this until a study session in February, and we will decide from there. Our council will decide on the process, and we'll vote on it in a meeting in February, and we'll go from there. All right. There's no other further old business. Mayor, City Administrator, staff reports. Do you have any? This is our last meeting for the year. I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's all I have. Councilor Wood.
I have no report.
Councilor Richardson.
Good job, Mayor. I just want to let you know.
Councilor Crossman.
Wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Councilor Smith.
Merry Christmas.
Councilor Hess. Councilor Palmer.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Councilor Kaminsky.
Happy New Year. No, but I had said it before you.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. We're adjourned.
We processed.